Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my Formula 1 2020 My Career Mode, racing as Michael Schumacher for Haas F1. We're heading into the Japanese weekend, and unfortunately, as I was kind of dreading, we've had the email from Carl to let us know that the FIA are thinking of doing a rules reset, and it's going to affect the aero department. So all aero upgrades, modifications that you've made this year potentially are going to be null and void. And what Carl is saying is, as a team, we do not want to be spending any more of our R&D points on aero upgrades until after the rules change. Which is obviously quite bad, because we've invested heavily in our aero for the season. It's one of the few departments where we did actually have room to develop parts. You know, we've run up against the wall in some departments due to the lack of facilities at Haas factory, which don't allow us to upgrade some of our parts of the car beyond a certain point, like the engine system. We can't develop the engine beyond pretty much where we're at. We can't develop the chassis beyond pretty much where we're at because we don't have the factory facilities to do those upgrades. So the aero was the one department we actually had scope to develop in, but now that looks like it's going to be taken away from us, which is obviously going to heavily affect the car heading into season 3. So now all of a sudden I'm in this crazy position where I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? If we count this race, we've got 5 races left this season. What am I going to do at the end of the season? Am I going to stay with this team, knowing full well that they don't seem to share my ambition in that they're not giving me the factory facilities to make the parts that we need to make to drive this car forward? Also, the fact that we are obviously going to take a huge hit in performance when we lose all our aero upgrades for season 3 means we're going to actually head backwards. Do I want to go through all that hassle again of redeveloping a car?
Sadly, it's time to say goodbye as free practice is over. However, we'll be
Or
back
do I want to perhaps maybe look at moving to a different team? And again, if I'm looking at moving to a different team, my eyes are going to be on that seat at Mercedes that is currently occupied by Billy Bottas, who's not doing a very good job for them. But we'll have to wait and see.
Fastest lap is a 1:29.2.
Anyway, we've gone through the free practice sessions. I did get better. I started off free practice very badly. Was quite a bit off the pace. I have got a little bit better as the sessions have gone on. Again, full disclosure to everybody watching the video, this is not a race circuit I've ever raced a lot on. I'm on, you know, compared to a lot of people, I don't generally, in racing games, race at Suzuka. It's not a track I kind of get, you know, really excited about. And certainly in Formula 1 games, it's not a track I have raced on a great deal because it tends to be quite late in the calendar, and normally in all the previous Formula 1 games I've never got this far into a career mode or a season mode where I've actually got to the Japanese race. So again, I'm finding it a bit of a struggle on this circuit.
And with all the cars now over the line,
and as is about to happen as well, another reason why I don't like this circuit is because the weather is crap here. It always rains in Japan. And why does it always rain in Japan, people? Because the Formula 1 organisers always choose to hold the Japanese race in the middle of Typhoon season. You know? That's about as crazy as you can get for organising an event. So we're going to go into qualifying where it's going to be raining, which is going to completely mess up the qualifying times. However, one of the things I am going to do before we head into qualifying is I'm going to fit a brand new engine to my car. I've talked about this in the previous video. Although we don't need to, I figure this potentially is a bogey track where, you know, the results might not go my way anyway. But also, given the title situation at the minute, with the fact that none of my rivals have scored very well in the last couple of races, I figure I have nothing to lose by taking an extra engine and making sure we have a complete brand new engine to do the final few races of the season. I might as well take the penalties at this race and then hopefully look forward to having better results in Mexico, America, Brazil, Abu Dhabi. You know? But as we head into qualifying, yes, it's pouring down with rain. Like I say, why the Formula 1 organisers choose to come to Japan in the middle of typhoon season absolutely baffles me. Why don't they go to Japan at the start of the year when they do like Australia, Bahrain, China, Vietnam? Surely it makes sense to go to Japan then, when I'm assuming the weather in Japan at that point in time will be very similar to how the weather is in China and Vietnam because of the geographical location. But anyway, we leave the pits in Q1 and we are informed about our 60 place grid penalty for taking a new engine. That's probably the most penalty points you can take all season. And now I've jumped ahead to the end of Q3 actually. So I've skipped Q1, Q2. Nothing really exciting happened in the qualifying laps of Q1 and Q2. As I say, because we're running on wet tyres, we're running on inters, everybody's running on inters, there's no strategy. And honestly, it doesn't matter what lap times I set, I'm going to be starting at the back of the grid because of my 60 place penalty. My 60 grid penalties. So this is really just to try and compete in the rivalry, you know, because I believe I'm in a rivalry with Vettel now, so I need to still do a good performance in qualifying, even though technically I'm starting last.
There's only one lap of fuel remaining.
So as we come to the end of qualifying then, Q3, I got P5. P5 is the best position I would have started in without any grid penalties. P5 is where I would have started the race. So, you know, take what you want from that. From P5, could I have had a good start and got up into the front row of the grid? Possibly, maybe.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top three: Bottas, Perez, and Charles Leclerc. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then.
But the fact of the matter is, I've pretty much written this race off. I've decided to use tactics here to make sure we're stronger at races that hopefully I'm going to be stronger at. Certainly like Brazil and Abu Dhabi, I would expect to be pretty good at, because, you know, I've raced those tracks previously. Did it in F2 for a start. America and Mexico might be a bit iffy. They're not tracks I'm very familiar with. But honestly, you know, I've got a 100-point lead in the championship at this point, so it doesn't matter if I have some bad results. My rivals have to deliver. They have to step up when I have a bad day, and they're not doing that. They're not doing that, sadly. So they're kind of helping me, actually. They've kind of helped me immensely at this point, and they've played into my strategy.
Unfortunately, we've picked up some grid penalties, and we'll be starting further back than you expect. As for how bad it is, that'll depend on what the other drivers get.
Well, you know, it's going to be bad, Jeff, especially as the race is also being run in a typhoon. So it's going to be wet race. We're starting last. This is just not going to be fun. So apparently I am in a rivalry now, but unfortunately it only started after qualifying, not before. Okay, but the good thing is Vettel retires at the end of the season, so you know, if there's only 4 races left, I could beat him on the fact that he's not here next year to carry on the fight. But we'll have to wait and see.
We come to you live today from the Mie Prefecture in the south of Japan's Honshu Island for a race that
obviously I'm a little bit concerned now because of wet race conditions.
Some simple, some controversial, but all contributing to a legacy that makes the Japanese Grand Prix
visibility is not going to be great at the back of the grid behind all the other cars.
Of the city of Nagoya today at a wet
And I've
windy Suzuka
never
Circuit.
really got used to racing in the wet in this game or any of the Formula 1 games. The AI make me very nervous in the wet because they're very random with their driving. Oftentimes they'll suddenly go very slow in parts of the circuit where you don't expect them to go slow, and it can catch you out very easily.
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances.
It's like they'll go into a corner and then they just kind of loiter there. They don't like accelerate out of the corner and away. They just kind of just hang there in the middle of the corner, which can be quite annoying if you're trying to overtake a car, because you can overtake a car, think, yeah, I've got that move done, and all of a sudden there's another car sat in front of you in the middle of the corner that you crash into. It's not the guy that you're overtaking that causes the collision. You don't have a collision with the guy you're overtaking. It's the guy a bit further up the road who's just in no man's land.
As we head to trackside for today's race.
And unfortunately, it means in a wet race, I'm very cautious. Too cautious, probably. I struggle to make overtakes in the wet because I just don't want to risk. You know, in the dry, with the ability to see further up the road, you can make, you know, much more daring attempts at passing cars. In these conditions, not so good. It's like here, starting last on the grid. I would normally be blasting down the inside here to this first corner, but I can't see where the braking point is. So I didn't want to go steaming in there and smash into a wall of cars. So I just kind of had to hang back. I couldn't make my usual beast mode race start there. And obviously it's very slippy underfoot, even on these intermediate tyres, which doesn't give you a lot of confidence to go racing and getting a bit bold and brave. But as I've alluded in the past, a race can't be won on the first lap. So let's just take our time. Be careful. See there's a good example of what I was saying. How the cars just really go a lot slower than you're expecting them to go. And you almost run into the back of them. You have to watch out for that in these conditions.
Okay, the start was fine. Let's try and move forward.
I'm going to try, Jeff, but I'm not hoping for miracles. I honestly don't know where the overtaking places are on this track. I don't know where the best place to try and... We're not going to have DRS because it's a wet race. So down this start and finish straight is not going to be a overtaking place, because you're not going to get DRS. So that's kind of nerfed that part of the track. Through this bendy, twisty, windy section, you're probably not going to be able to overtake anybody because it's all flipping corners and turns. You get a nice long straight here into a... Well, it's not really a heavy braking corner, so you can't really make an overtake there, I don't think. I don't know whether you could... I don't know. No, you're not going to dive down the inside of anybody there into that corner. You've got a long sweeping right-hander here, which then comes into a left-hander. Again, it's not really a huge braking zone though, so I don't know if you'll pass anybody in there. Again, it's pretty much a flat-out left-hander in there, so you're not going to overtake there. And then you finally get to this slight chicane here. I don't know. I don't know where the overtaking points are in these on this track in wet. In the dry, your overtaking zone is here with the DRS, and I think that's about it. I think there's only one passing place on this circuit, and it's been taken away from us with the conditions. So yay, another vote for the Formula One organisers hosting the race in the wet, in the Typhoon season of Japan. What are they going to do next? Host the Winter Olympics in Africa in July? Because that's about the logic of it, folks. That's about the logic of it. Going to some of these tracks in the, you know, the time periods that they do, they're just asking for trouble. Bit like we saw this season when they went to Nürburgring in Germany in October, because they were really expecting it to be warm and sunny in Germany in October. Weren't they? You know? Bit different when you go to places like Portugal and Imola, because, you know, they're on like the southern coast of like Portugal and Italy respectively. A little bit closer to the equator, a little bit nicer weather conditions. You go to Nürburgring up in the mountains of Germany in October, you're not going to be getting 40-degree weather. You know, I mean, I know that's a bit dramatic because obviously the whole COVID thing has changed the race calendar this year, and they've had to try and get races where they can. And Lewis is out the race again. Bye-bye, Lewis.
Keep your delta number positive as we form up. Okay, slow down, slow down. Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace.
Well, that wasn't my fault. I definitely had nothing to do with that this time. I'm at the back of the grid. So once again, one of my main title rivals has failed to capitalise on me having a bad weekend and having a bad race. They're just playing it. They're just gifting me. They're gifting me gifts that I didn't deserve. They should have been taking advantage of my race grid penalties here to actually score some good points and close the gap on me. And they're not doing it, folks. These drivers are terrible. But again, we maintain an excellent record this season of having a safety car. I don't know how many safety car races we've had now this season, but it feels like all of them. It feels like all of them. And they're always fairly early in the race as well. I mean, lap 4 was probably a bit later than usual.
We'll be seeing at least 20 minutes of light rain.
I don't think anybody's taken an option to pit. I don't know why anybody would pit, because obviously we're pretty much going to be on the inters all race unless the rain gets heavier, in which case we might have to go on to the full wets. So I can't see anybody boxing this early, even with a safety car. Pretty much just going to have to be used to being last. My one and only hope is, could I go further on my inters than the other drivers, and could I potentially overcut some people when they do come into the pits for their tyre change? Can I actually go longer and gain track position? Who knows? I certainly think any overtakes are going to be done in the pit stop phase of this Grand Prix. I do. I don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for overtaking on the track. Kind of stuck behind Lando at this point. Lando, Giovinazzi, Kvyat. All cars that, you know, in normal dry conditions I would be a heck of a lot faster than. Heck of a lot faster than. I think I was about... I think I was like... I'm sure when, if I go back and look at that slide from practice 3, I was like 4 seconds faster than Lando. My fastest lap time in practice 3 was 4 seconds better than Lando's. And certainly when I look at the qualifying 3 time, I was definitely faster than a lot of these guys. So if I could get some clear track in front of me, I would be able to actually pull a gap and pull some gap. So maybe the strategy for me is just to try and stay out as long as I can on these tyres, get the clear track. Problem is with these intermediate tyres is they lure you into a bit of a false sense of security because they feel really great, and then all of it they just suddenly go off the cliff. You don't get that steady decline like you do with the slicks, like the normal tyres, race tyres. Inters and wets pretty much more or less just suddenly fall off from one lap to the next. I'll tell you what, this safety car's been out for a long
pick up
time.
the pace a touch, please. We need to close to within 10 car lengths of the car ahead.
I mean, it was only Lewis that retired. It's not like we've had a big crash or anything. So, what's taking... And, you know, we're at the race start. All the cars are pretty tightly close together anyway. So, what is going on here?
Safety car is in this lap. Safety car in this lap.
Okay,
Let's make sure
safety
those
car
tyres
is
are up to
coming in
temperature.
now.
And remember, there is no overtaking until the timing line. Stay in position until the green flags.
Come on, Lando. You was trying to get me a penalty there. Oh, I've messed up. Oh, I hate that when I do that. You've got to be close to these guys.
Our gap to the car in front is 1.6 seconds.
To maybe get an overtake on the restart, and I fluff that up by running off track. That was not as good as my... That's a penalty. He's missed the ball there, ref. Sorry, I'm watching the football. I was watching the football there. I just got distracted.
Let's use overtake and burn some of this energy.
Right, Jeff's telling me to use the ERS.
A new strategy is available on the MFD.
Now he wants me to change my pit strategy. Probably not going to do that, Jeff, if I'm being honest. It's a bit late now to come into the pits. Behind the safety car. I'm on lap 7.
Got that confirmed.
So let's carry on going till lap 13. good through that chicane. I lose ground when I really need to be close to these guys to try and slipstream them down this start and finish straight to try and get into an overtaking position.
I think we're still on the right tyres for the time being.
So do I, Jeff. So do I. It's too wet for anything else. And I don't really have a lot of good grip on these, to be fair. It's a bit glassy. The surfaces of this track is a bit glassy. So, let's see what we can do, shall we? Huge queue of cars again. The thing is, like, that's the problem, you see. This is what I was talking about. As much as I would love to overtake Norris, there isn't actually a gap in front of him for me to actually be able to drop into when I make the move. The danger is that in overtaking Norris, I would actually hit Giovinazzi or Kvyat, because everybody's so bunched up. I can't make a dive bomb on Lando because there's about 4 other cars that I would potentially be dive bombing into. This is where you don't get the natural separation of the field like you do in a dry race, where everybody's on different strategies, different tyre compounds. Everybody pretty much stays compacted and compressed together in a race like this. The lack of DRS doesn't help as well. Although I'm pretty sure at some point in this race I get an issue with my rear wing, and I think my DRS opens. And I'm actually driving around the circuit with my DRS. I'm sure it does. If my memory's correct. It might not be, but it could be. I don't know whether it's a little bit later on in the Grand Prix.
To teammate ahead is 2.3 seconds.
2.3 seconds to Grosjean. He's probably going to beat me in this race. Track limits, look. Gotta watch that. Again, we know how strict the stewards are in the wet on track limits. Far, far stricter than they are in the dry. We don't want to pick up any time penalties. Here we are, lap 10, and I've made 0 progress. I've not overtaken a single car yet. It's frustrating now. So there's just no way to launch an overtake into that corner because there's just going to be a wall of cars in front of you. My best bet is to hope that when these guys pit, they get out of my way, and then I'm free to drive faster. That's kind of my hope.
We've got plenty of energy. Use the overtake button and have a go.
Still not seeing anybody making any attempts to box from the cars in front.
We're expecting you in around 2 laps, and we'll be putting you on the intermediate tyres.
Might hang fire on that, Jeff. I think my best bet is to try and do some extra laps to try and get in front of these guys, because if I box and come out behind them, I'm just going to be stuck here. I need to do something a bit different. I mean, the extreme decision is to try and actually avoid pitting altogether. Is it possible to do the whole race on this one set of intermediates and not pit at all? Is that something we could attempt? Because tyre wear seems pretty good at the minute, but like I say, there is always that risk that they just suddenly drop off the cliff. But could you do 27 laps on one set of intermediates? Possibly if they were new, and unfortunately I don't think these are new, because these were the intermediates I used in qualifying. That's the problem as well, you only get 3 sets of intermediate tyres for the whole weekend, and obviously I've used one set of intermediates in practice 2, and then I used another set of intermediates in qualifying, so I've only got one new set left after these. And because I did Q1, Q2 and Q3, all 3 qualifying sessions on this set of tyres, this set of tyres is not new. So I don't know if I could do 27 laps on a second-hand set of tyres. A brand new set of Inters? Possibly. But Inters that have done qualifying? Probably not. So I'm going to have to pit at some point. Just a case of when and where. The tyre wear's not looking too bad at the minute. Fronts are taking a bit of a beating. It's probably the front tyres that are going to give up on me long before the rears.
We're going to box this lap. Push hard on the in-lap. Yellow flag.
Yellow flag?
VSC deployed. The virtual safety car
Max
has been
Verstappen
deployed.
is now out of
We need
the
to keep
race.
a positive delta here. Slow down. Maintain a positive delta.
So another
Okay,
title rival
slow down. Your delta is negative, which
who's
means you
not
are too fast.
capitalising
Reduce your
on
pace.
my bad race. They're gonna let me get away with this. They're gonna let me get away with this, aren't they? They're gonna let me off. This has been probably the perfect race to take a new engine, to take the penalties, because they're not capitalising on it. It's quite possible, well, with Lewis out the race and Verstappen out the race, no
Virtual
harm has
safety
been
car is
done.
ending. Maintain your pace until the green flag. VSC ending. Wait for green.
I've not lost any ground. My title rivals have not closed up on me. They've not gained any points. So my title lead remains intact. So, yeah, I don't actually have to do anything in this race. I could quite happily sit here at the back of the field. In fact, actually, I could probably retire and box the car, save the engine, save the gearbox. We're not going to lose any ground in the our title aspirations will remain 100% intact. Onwards and upwards to Mexico, where it should hopefully be very dry and sunny and
There's a
warm.
group of slower cars ahead of you. It might be worth pitting sooner than planned in order to avoid them.
Well, most of the slower cars have actually just pitted, Jeff, so actually we're in a good spot. Whoa! Got on the curb there. That one settled the car a little bit. But yeah, if all these guys box in front of me and pit in front of me, track position is clearly king here. So let's stay out. Let's stay out if we can. And gain as many places as we can in the pit stops. Run wide there, which stops me getting on the power, which means I can't give chase to these guys down this long straight. In fact, there's no braking here, it's just a full throttle. There's not really a lot of room to dive bomb in here. Grosjean's in the pits.
Roman is in for his stop.
I think Giovinazzi got caught out there by the guys pitting in front of him. This could be my first overtake of the race. It is. I think he got a bit wrong-footed by the guys that come into the pits, and then he got kind of just stuck, going slowly. I actually had to do more work there to avoid running into him, because he kind of was wrong-footing me as well. I was like, I'm going left. No, 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 I'm going to have to go right. Because he was just moving about the track. Right, we're up into P10 now. So, like I say, there's positions to be gained in the pit stop phase of the race, with everybody running quite closely. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get any 3 air to then pull a bit of a gap. See, this is the point in the race. Right now, I've just noticed my dashboard. I think I've got a problem on the car, and I think it's my rear wing. I think my DRS has opened in the way.
Use your overtake button more. It's time to utilize some of this energy.
Especially when I start to see how quickly I close up on the likes of Vettel, Ricciardo and that in front of me. I think I'm running DRS, you know. It also explains why this car suddenly starts to get a bit slippier. Because I've lost all my rear downforce. We'll have to see if I tab through the info screens again. I definitely think I've got an issue with the rear wing. I think my rear wing has opened. Because like through here I've got no downforce. I've just not, and it's like, well, that can only be because of a sudden loss of rear. And the only way to get a sudden loss of rear downforce is with your DRS open. But Jeff's not telling me anything on the radio that we've got a problem. It's just the dashboard is telling me I have a problem. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind having DRS all the way around the circuit. I just wish the track was dry and I could take full advantage. Especially down some of the straights here. Like this one coming up.
It's not a perfect situation, but I don't think we have cause to move on to a different tyre yet.
Trouble is, having no rear wing is not very good through this section of the track. It kind of hurts me here not having the rear downforce. But now on this section, you think it would be pretty good to have DRS open, and on this section here, having DRS open. And then on this next section as well, having DRS open should be an advantage. And then of course down the long back straight, oh, I'm really surprised Jeff's not telling me more about that on the radio. We're
Okay,
coming
try
up
to
to
overtake him.
P6. And now my rear wing has fixed itself. I've lost the rear wing. I've lost the advantage there. My car's self-repaired. Yellow flags, green flags. Yellow flags.
Caution, caution.
Bottas is
Safety
out
guard
of the
deployed.
session.
The safety car
Bye-bye,
has been
Billy
deployed.
Bottas.
Watch your delta. Make sure you keep it positive as we catch the pack.
So again,
Drop your
for
speed,
somebody
our delta
with
is
an
too
eye
low
on
and we
a
risk a
future
penalty.
Mercedes
Slow your
seat,
pace immediately.
that's another
Check
good
your
result
MFD
there
for a
for
new
me,
strategy option.
because that's making Bottas's job look very
Confirmed.
much in danger.
Give that position
As is
back.
my,
We are under safety
ability to
car
stay on the
conditions and
track
cannot overtake.
In
Return
this
the position.
VSC. I can't stay on the track in these virtual conditions. But yeah, I actually think we're at the stage now where Bottas has failed to finish more races than he's started. So, might not be looking good for him. Might not be looking good for him and his future. And like I say, if the FIA are going to fiddle with the rules and are going to come interfering with the upgrades and development of the car, it might be wise for me to move to a team that's got a better car fundamentally, that's got a much better baseline car. Yeah, this safety car situation is now not helping. Because it's letting everybody catch up again. I probably should have
This
boxed.
light rain is going to be with us for a while now.
I missed my opportunity. I've missed my opportunity to pit under the safety car before everybody got closed back up and was able to catch up. If I box now, I'm going to the back of the grid. I'm going to the back of the field. And the worrying thing is my tyres have now, all of a sudden, as I've said, jumped up massively in their wear to the point where the front tyres are at 67% worn. I cannot go to the end of the race without pitting. I am going to need to pit. I have a brand new set of Inters.
Pitting this lap then? Come into the pits at the end of
We
this
are
lap.
going to use them. We're going to take them. Unfortunately, it's probably a decision I should have done 2 or 3 laps ago when the safety car first came out. I've messed up. I've failed. Back of the grid we go, but like I say, the good thing is Lewis and Verstappen failed to finish before me, so I've not lost anything in the championship. They've not closed the gap on me. My lead is intact. Now, if these guys in the pits could just change my tyres when I come in and not faff about like they did in the last race, that would be great. You know, I don't want to have to put the old John Travolta meme in again. Like, you know, what's going on, guys? Why aren't you changing the tyres? Ah, there we go. See, this is what you should have done in Singapore. Instead of sitting there looking at me.
Up to speed now. Let's get some heat into those tyres.
So a brand new rocking set of inters, and we've skipped ahead. I cut out the rest of the safety car period because obviously it was rubbish. We are now at the back of the field. We've caught up with the pack. We're under green flag, so at this point in time we are now racing. I'm currently in last place of the cars that are still running, and I've got a few people in front of me that I'm going to see if I can possibly overtake. I've got both of the Alfa Romeos and I think both of the Williams in front of me. And one thing I am seeing is there is a possibility of an overtake. I'm starting to see an overtake spot on this circuit. There is a gap there where I think if you time it right, you can actually overtake somebody.
The tyre situation is an interesting one,
spot.
but I think the right call is to stick with what we've got right now.
That might be the best place for me to make an overtake. It's taken me 22 laps to see it, but we now have a spot. So the question is, can I put my car in the right place where I can make that overtake each lap in that window, in that part of the circuit? Let's find out. As I say, you're not going to be making overtakes in this part of the circuit, not in the wet. And you're not going to be making overtakes down here, not without DRS. So you've got to think a little bit more creatively here. Whoa. So I think there's room. I think when they go through here, there's a gap here that you can take advantage of. I think I'm too far away. I was definitely too far away on this lap because I made that mistake going into the first corner. But if I can try and stay a little bit closer, if I can try and stay a bit closer, I might be able to make a move. And there, that's, again, it's inviting you to try and make a move there, but it's not possible because the guy's just going to turn in on you. He's going to turn in on you at that speed. So, just got to be patient. All we need is a good run out of here. We then don't need to mess up the first corner.
We're trailing our teammate by 8.0 seconds.
Let's try and do this. Look for the gap. Closer this time. There's the gap. Oh, too far away. Too far away. So again, got to do better next time round. Next time round, I need to do better.
This pace is strong, but be aware your tyres need to go the distance.
Whoa! There was an overtake. into turn 1. And will I get the second Alpha? Giovinazzi through here, because there's the gap. Yes. So actually, I managed to overtake both of the Alphas there. Now I've got both Williams up ahead. I've got Russell and then Latifi. Why not rinse and repeat? Let's see if we can't do the same to them. So poor old Giovinazzi's actually, I've overtaken him twice in this race. The Kimi one took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to overtake him where I did. He just suddenly kind of stopped in the track again. And actually I very nearly ran into him. That almost ended in disaster. I'm actually going to probably take Russell down here, look. Wow. All of a sudden, at this phase of the race, I've got a lot of speed over these guys. I wonder if that's because they're now fuel saving, whereas I'm not. I'm still running quite happily in rich mix because I've got way more fuel than I needed again for this race.
We're increasing our gap on the car behind by around a second a lap.
And I'm using my ERS. But again, we want to stay close to the car through here. He's going to give us the chance. In a second. He's going to put a gap. Too far away, too far away. I wasn't able to stay close to him. So I wasn't able to get him through the first part, but maybe I'll have the advantage down the back straight, possibly. Again, he was inviting me there. A good run down here. ERS, rich mix, and we'll go for it.
Light rain will stay with us for at least 20 minutes, maybe more. Light rain is here to stay.
Done him. Overtake, done.
They've got a serious car issue. It looks like they're retiring.
That's up
Green
to
flag. Some information on
P13.
Latifi. This is your final lap of the race.
Gained up to P13. Sadly, no one else in front of me now for 7 seconds. So, I'm not going to be overtaking anybody else. Yeah. Probably should have stopped earlier for my pit stop. When that safety car come out for Bottas's retirement, I should have boxed straight away. I shouldn't have driven a couple of laps because it's let everybody bunch up. If I'd have boxed at that point, I probably might have got out higher up the field, and then I may have been in a position where I could have attacked a couple of these guys. A bit higher. Maybe I could have got into the top 10 and maybe scored a point or something, you know. But ultimately, I continue my record, which is I have completed every single race this season. I am the absolute opposite of Billy Bottas in that I have not failed to finish a race. I have completed every single lap of every race. And there's actually only a couple of drivers. There's only a couple of drivers. I think George Russell is one. I think Lando Norris is another. I think there's only about 3 of us. There's only 3 drivers in this whole grid that have actually completed every single race.
Another win for the team at Renault today. Really impressive stuff.
So Danny Rick picks up a race win for Renault. I wonder if he'll do a shoey on the podium.
It's a heroic
You think
effort for any
Codemasters have
driver
put a
to race in
shoey in?
conditions like these, and seeing them fight their way to the front was very special indeed. They were able to find all the grip, all the good lines.
Why is Lance
and the
Stroll
confidence
working
to
for
get
the
on the
Renault
power to top
pit
it all
crew?
off. That's what pushed them into first place here today.
And there's Lance Stroll racing in his pink overalls.
As we can see,
Lance
it's
Stroll's
time for the
everywhere.
podium.
He's like
I
dog
can see
poo.
the Renault team underneath our commentary box going crazy as their drivers
The
walk
chair
out.
and
It was
Perez.
a great win, and it means a great deal to this team.
No, we're not going to see a shoey from Danny Rick. We're going to see a Lando Norris style champagne celebration, which every driver seems to do in this game. Every driver seems to do the Lando. Be nice if Codemasters added like driver specific celebrations, so that, you know, not all the drivers do the same thing when they're on the podium. There's a bit more individuality and a bit more, you know, individual character to the
Let's
guys.
see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Schumacher increases their championship lead. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Schumacher gets my vote today. They pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was just a pleasure to watch.
Let's move on to the constructors.
Really?
The gap between Haas and the rest of the
Really?
teams
I get
is
driver of the
extended yet
day on a
further.
day where I'm not
Meanwhile, Ferrari have
particularly
improved their
happy with the
position.
race.
A strong weekend from
And
them
the
as
race
they fight their
result.
way towards the top. Well,
The fact I
that was
finished
certainly an
13th,
incredible weekend of racing.
couldn't really do
Be sure to
anything,
join
couldn't
myself and
overtake
Ant
anybody
for
till
more
the very end
exciting
of the
Formula
race.
One action soon.
If Anthony Davidson thinks that's a driver of the day performance, then
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts.
that is driver of the day. I think the grid, well, 60 place grid penalty is probably a little bit harsh.
All that traffic today.
You know, especially when there's only 22 there's only 22 grid places. You know, but if you're going to take penalties, you might as well take
How do you feel
them
weather
all
affected
in
the
one go,
outcome today?
because at worst you're only going to start last. Once you're last, you can't get any really lower.
It was more like Dodgems than Formula One today, wasn't it?
No. No. Again, why is she asking me a stupid question like this? I didn't hit anybody
Well, that's everything.
in today's race. I raced very cleanly today. I had no contact with anybody. Lewis, Max, Valtteri, they all went out of the race by themselves. I had nothing to do with those. I hate it when she's I hate it when she accuses me of things that definitely are not my fault in this situation. In actual fact, when we look at the race result, I think they had mechanical failures. They didn't have damage, they actually had failures. Their cars broke. Right, so we currently have some
Okay, we've had the new parts come through from the fabrication process. We'll have them
we
with us
currently
for the
have
next Grand Prix.
1,995 research and development points. What we're not going to do is we're not going to spend any of them then. If the impending rules change is coming and we're going to lose all of our blue aero upgrades there at the bottom of the screen, there's no point investing any more points. We're going to need them to invest next year in rebuilding the car. So, we still have one aero part to come through, which we're currently working on. It's too late for me to cancel that and reallocate the points somewhere else. So that's a waste of time. But the good thing is we have the new engine. So we've got the extra engine now. So the final 4 races of the season, I should be very happy. And if we look at the tables, as you can see, like I was just saying, I have finished every single race. Going down the table, like I say, I think it's Lando Norris who's finished every other race, and George Russell. Poor old Valtteri Bottas has DNF'd 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 races. He's DNF'd 9 races. He had a hat-trick of races in the middle of the season. He's almost on course for his second hat-trick of the season. So yeah, there's only myself, Lando and George who have completed every single race of the season. Everybody else has had DNFs, fails to finish. Some of them have had a lot more. But there we go, folks. Come back and join me in the next video where we head off to Mexico for the next round of the championship season. Take care, everybody. Goodbye for now.